Okay, folks, we are back. Sorry, I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. My phone wasn't turning the camera so you guys could see me without turning your heads. So we are good now. If there's any audio questions, you guys aren't hearing us, just please make a comment real quick and let us know. But if you can hear us good, great, we'll get started. All right, this month's seminar is on storage and maintaining your unit while in storage. This is important because it helps the longevity of your RV and keeps it maintained. To introduce myself, my name is Patrick Clyde. I'm the service manager for Burlington RV. Starting off, I want to go over some of the things that we yearly recommend to maintain your vehicle. You can do this in the springtime or in the fall time. It's a preference of each individual, but I tend to like to start with doing it in the fall time just so it's ready in spring. I don't have to worry about it. First thing that we always recommend to do, and per the manufacturers, every 90 days you should be at least checking this, is inspecting your roof and maintaining your roof. So most units will use on their roof they have a material called a rubber roof material called from Dicor. Now that Dicor product uses lap sealant or self-leveling sealant, which looks something like this. And when you're up there, what you're actually looking for is any type of cracking or opening on any of those seals. The rubber membrane itself is very durable. It doesn't do well with impact, but from the outside elements, it's very durable. Usually I hardly have any issues with that for just material failure. But I've had plenty of issues where they hit trees or go through drive-throughs or whatever else they may happen out there. And it'll tear easy. But the actual thing that we're looking for is wherever there's a cutout, like say your vent lid, your front cap, your rear cap, your side moldings, anything like that that has a cutout in the roof will have what you call Dicor around it, this stuff. And whenever you see crackings or openings, you may not think it's leaking. It's always best just to clean it up a little bit and put a little bit right over the top. If you've done that a few times, you might want to peel some off and then put some on there. You don't want to keep building this stuff up because I've seen people seal their vent lids closed. So it's important to do it correctly. There's lots of stuff out there online. You can see how people do it. It's a pretty easy thing to do, but it's important to do this because this could create, if this isn't done regularly, I've had plenty of roofs that have rotted over the years because this $10 tube was not done. So it's important to maintain this. Please, please check your roofs periodically through the summer and then make sure that you seal it whenever needed. But definitely in fall, I always check to make sure it's good, seal wherever I need to, and we're good to go. The other thing I like to do before I put it away is probably lubricate the slides. I do this when I put it away. I also do it when I take it out of storage. That's just me. That might be a little bit of overkill, but it's up to you. But the book says to do this once a year to maintain your slide rooms. Now there's two of them here. I have a rubber seal conditioner. This product is made by Thetford. Sorry, I can't tell because there's a little delay. But
scoot it down just a teeny bit.
There we go. Hopefully you guys can
see
it.
There you go.
This is meant to go on your seals for your slide out. This is important to keep them lubricated. I've seen slide out seals stick to slide out walls. It makes a horrible noise, and on top of that, it can sometimes even cause a little bit of an issue with the slide system. That's extreme, but it could. I've seen them stick, and then they pull it down, and then you'll hear that slam forward on the slide because the seal stuck to the top of the roof. So it's important to maintain that. And then this one right here is the slide out dry silicone spray, and this one's for like the metal gears up underneath to help lubricate those rails down below. Now, most of you folks have a Schwintek slide room system. You will not, I repeat, if you have a Schwintek system, you will not use the metal lubricant on anything on the Schwintek slide. Okay, never use any lubrication on there. But you're still going to want to use the rubber seal and lubricate that area, but not the Schwintek. And I did just recently post a how-to video on resetting that Schwintek. If you want to, after the seminar, watch that. It's a good thing to watch and know how to reset a Schwintek slide. I got a step-by-step process on that one. But do not do it on a Schwintek, but all other slides that have rams underneath, you want to lubricate that, wipe them down, get them nice and clean. Not a bad idea to carry this stuff whenever you're camping. We sell both of these in our parts department if you need to pick up any, but they are a great thing to have. Whoa, sorry, my wife almost fell back there. All right, a couple other things that I don't really bring anything to show you, but still important to know is your appliances. You know, people always say my appliance failed, you know, I hadn't used it. To be honest with you, the worst thing that can happen to appliances is not being used. That's what actually creates a lot of the issues with these appliances. They just sit and sit. And just like anything we own, if we don't do anything, maintain it, or just let it sit there for a long time, it's going to deteriorate. So what we do as an appliance service, we blow out all the chambers, the burner tubes, and we're talking about your water heater, your furnace, your AC, your refrigerator's another big one. All those areas get a lot of debris, and the biggest culprit to stop somebody's trip, like for an item not working on your appliance, like your water heater or your furnace, is spiders. Spiders get in there and they build these webs which block airflow for your gas, or gas flow on your tube, so it doesn't allow it to go through. Like a water heater's a big one, and that little tube that turns, spiders build little nests in there, and it stops the flow, and then if you haven't cleaned that out, that system is not going to work. It'll actually kind of go through there and have blockage, and I've actually seen little explosions happen down there. It's not going to be anything, it's just going to be a quick boom boom. It won't hurt anything, but they do cause a lot of havoc. So it's important to maintain your your appliances once a year, and that's blowing everything out. We do offer that service in our service department. If you give us a call, we can set something up for you. The other thing that I like to talk about is your axles. Your axles should be repacked. The book says once a year, or I think 2,500 miles. I mean, most people it's once a year. If you're not doing a whole lot, some people wait every other year, but please don't let it exceed 2 years. You want to repack your bearings and replace the seals. That's very important. I couldn't count how many people have been stuck in the middle of a trip because they didn't repack their bearings, and it seized a bearing to the spindle, and you're done. I mean, you can't drive it. You're stuck at the closest repair facility, and to get an axle in today's day is 2 to 3 weeks sometimes, if not more. So it's important to repack your bearings when you're on a timely matter. If you're driving like all over the country, make sure that you do it once a year or often. If you're just going to little places out in Wisconsin, just a couple hundred miles here, maybe 3 or 4 trips a year, you might get away with doing it every other year, but the book does say once a year. So please maintain that. And then the other thing I like to talk about is if you have a motorized unit, is your oil changes, your generator and your engine, okay? Do those once a year. Nobody drives them enough to hit the mile markers like we do in our vehicles. I've had somebody come into my dealership once before and say, hey, I'm ready for my first oil change, and I look down and it's a 2009. And I'm like, well, what do you mean your first oil? Well, I finally hit the 5,000. You know, that's really, really bad. You have to do it once a year because nobody really hits the mile markers on these things. If you are, I'm going camping with you because you're driving all over the country and you're having a whole bunch of fun. But unfortunately, most of us are just, you know, camping on here and there on the weekends. And we're not getting that many miles out of it. So if you're a full-timer, you might want to think about your miles. But if you're just camping every so often throughout the summer, make sure, no matter what, you do your oil changes at least once a year. And same thing with your generator. Don't let that go either. So make sure you do that. Generators also, these ones a little bit more difficult to. We don't really do this in our shop, but it is something to keep an eye on. If you run your generator dry, if you store your unit with a quarter tank of gas, once you get below a quarter tank of gas, your generator can no longer fire on your unit. One of the biggest issues I have with generators is sitting with fuel in that carb. It's just like an old 69 Camaro sitting for 6-7 months in storage with that carburetor full of gas, and the gas gets old and tarnished, and it causes issues with the carburetor. So it's important to try to run that engine down, or try to go do another trip to where you're below and you can run the generator dry real quick, let it die out. So that way there's no more gas. Or if you don't want to do that and you just want to drain it out from the fuel line, you can do that too, and then run it dry. Both ways work, just depending on your level of gas and the cost of gas. I would probably pull the fuel line, let it run dry, just because of the fact that I don't want to waste if I've got a full tank. But you got to remember, even the gas inside those, they're also in the engine. In a fuel injection engine, makes no difference, but in a carburetor engine, it does. So if you leave it all winter with a full tank of gas and then run that generator, you're putting that old tarnished gas through that generator, which could cause an issue with that carb. It is the most common issue on a generator is a carburetor because of gas. I mean, in stabilizers and stuff, I really don't get involved in the stabilizer stuff because some of them say, oh, you can't use this with that, or you can. You get 10, ask that question, 10 people get 10 different answers. I usually don't get involved in that stuff, but I just say run it dry, don't let it sit in there, and you should be fine. Also, I think that's on the maintenance side is pretty basic. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope, we look pretty good there. So we sell those products. The other thing on the sealant is really important to know for the roof sealant. If you have a Grand Design RV, they have what's called, and rubber roof on that Grand Design, it is an alpha sealant. They require you to use alpha, I say dichlor because we've been using this for alpha lap sealant, not dichlor. They say if you use dichlor, it can bubble. If you use a lot of it around there, it could bubble it up. It's not going to destroy it or cause an issue of where it will no longer work, but it does cause it to bubble a little bit. So just best to use what they recommend, and that's the alpha sealant if you have a Grand Design. If you don't have a Grand Design, I'm sure you might want to check with your RV manufacturer, but most others have a dichlor roof. Sorry, my dog's running around here. All right, next, just some bug screens. This may not be so much for winter. We don't have a whole lot of bugs sitting out there in sub-zero temperature, but still a good thing to have is bug screens over your furnace, over your water heater. They have screens for your refrigerator, but you know, on hot days that can prevent airflow to help your fridge cool. So it's just something to keep in mind.
He said the screen froze. Are we still live?
Somebody stated that the screen froze. I'm just going to give it a minute just to make sure that everybody's got the feed. I don't want to keep going. It looks like it's still working on ours. If anybody can comment saying we're still live and everything looks good, please do so that way we know we're still good.
Someone said fine. Diane said, Weimer said they're fine there.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Miss Weimer. Okay, we're good. We're going to keep going.
Miss Thomas said she's fine.
Okay. We're going to keep going then. You may want to check something on your computer, see if there's something of an issue there, but it seems like we're still good. Looks like we're good on our end too. Bug screens are a great thing. They cause a lot of problems, mud daubers, but realistically this isn't more of a storage winter thing, but a good idea to have. I thought I'd bring it. Okay. Now, always a good idea to, we're going to get more into the area of storage now when we're going to put it away. So I brought a few things, but I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. We'll hold those till the end. But just some things that I wanted to explain to you folks. One, I always recommend to wash the unit before you put it away. I'm sure that's pretty cut and dry. But you should always wash it. If you wax it, if you have the paint protector, just wash it. Whatever the case that you like to do, but I would like to put away a nice clean unit before I store it. And I also, if you're going to wash the awning, make sure that awning dries out before you put it away. Don't wash it and close it up. That's where you open it. If you do that, the next year you open it, you're going to be also purchasing the mold remover that they do sell from Thetford to take care of that issue because you put it away and it was wet and it created mold inside there. So make sure when you're going to wash that awning, you let it dry before closing it up. And never open an awning on a windy day, on any wind. So please, I emphasize that. I know every time I have a windy weekend, that Monday I get 10 calls of people saying they have no idea how their awning failed. So it's just a normal thing. Please make sure we only keep the awnings open when we're underneath them or observing them to make sure it's safe to bring them back if we have to. The other thing I'll talk about, and this is not a fix. I have no permanent fixes for this. There is no permanent fixes for this. If you want my personal opinion, there's only preventative things that we can do to stop it, but they've been around for, how long have mice been around?
I don't know.
Millions of years, I'm sure. I have no idea, but they have been resilient. They're survivors, and they're good at it. So we do have things that help us prevent mice from coming into your RV. I'm going to tell you the number one thing that I believe that stops mice from coming in RVs is a clean unit inside. No food. Anything that they can smell for food, that's what they're coming after. So if you can make sure never to leave food in there, never to leave that stuff, spices, anything that they can smell is the best deterrent for mice. But yet it's cold outside, they're still going to be resilient and try to get in. You have to remember that mice don't jump. Like people will say the corners of my slide outs have openings in them that mice can get in. I can promise you they're not getting in there. They are never getting in there. You can have an opening hole, but they can't get to that spot to get in there unless they're studying from cliffhanger or something to climb around that area. But they can flatten themselves out like a pancake and get into an area that you didn't even think was open. So the biggest thing is they climb. So if you want to put traps out, put it out around your tires. If you have a power cord, anything that you see that they can climb up is how they're getting in. So if you put those sticky traps, please do not use decon. All they're going to do is eat it, go in there, and die. So, and it's just going to be nasty for like a month. So don't put decon for them to eat. Always traps that get them. I'm sure everybody knows that, but just want to reiterate that, no decon. And then put it around the tires, put it around the power cord if you leave the power cord on. You can put these repellents inside there. They help deter it. There are a lot of studies out there showing that they do. I know a lot of people put bounce sheets in these things. I suffer from acid reflux, and I can't breathe in these units with the amount of bounce sheets that are in there. So I've never been a fan of them, but that's only for personal reasons. But people say it works, but I've also seen nests made out of bounce sheets. So I don't know if that does or does not. But I do know that food is the number one thing. They also sell a chemical called Mouse Free that you could spray under there. It makes it real slippery, and it has that peppermint smell, I guess you could say, or something that they dislike. You could spray that and they can't climb. That stuff's pretty messy, but I heard it does work very well. But mouse repellents, traps around the wheels are a good idea, and no food in there is probably how I would store my camper. There's no guarantee that that'll work every time, but it's the best preventive maintenance that we could do for them. I'm sure everybody's got a home remedy that they've tried and says works. I'm sure it does. I couldn't contest to that, but that's what I would suggest. Now, the other thing, and I know that I'm kind of jumping around these things for storage. That's only because we already talked about winterize on the last seminar. So if you're asking about winterize or how do I do that, just watch the last seminar. I know I promised I'd send out a video of how to. I have filmed it. I'm just editing it off. I'm almost done with it, and it'll be posted shortly. So the filming's done. It's just editing it all together. So next is our batteries. Sorry, this one's fake. That's why I can do this. It's not that heavy. Please, I always recommend, and I do it for all of my stuff that I'm not using throughout the winter, my lawnmowers, anything that protrudes a battery in it, I remove and I put it on a trickle charger. So I always remove my batteries and I put it in my shed at my house or my garage down in my basement's a good one because that always stays warm. A battery's not going to have an issue if it's charged in cold weather. But the problem is our batteries deplete. If I have a unit with a battery in it and I don't have a disconnect on, I'm sure I can kill that one. Every unit's different. Every unit's different before I state this, but I could, just sitting there with the battery disconnect on, if it doesn't die in 3 days, I would be surprised. Most units die within 3 days with the battery disconnect on and it was fully charged and not plugged in. So it'll just drain. If the battery disconnects off, you still have drainage coming off of it. Just because you turn that doesn't mean that it is completely disconnected everything from this battery. It is disconnected a lot, but not everything. Like if you have a fifth wheel, your display for your jack legs are still wired to the battery hot along with the hydraulic pump. There are things that still can draw. So my suggestion when you're going to store it is remove the battery and put it into a warm place if you can. And if you can't put it in a warm place, at least put it into a place with a trickle charger to keep it charged. As long as it's charged, it's not going to have an issue. If it depletes and drains and then sits in the freezing cold, that's when the batteries go bad. Freezing cold and a discharged battery will end up suffering the life of this battery dramatically. That is very important. If you're coming into our service drive, I have my service advisors advising people to take their batteries out right now because we don't know what we're going to be doing or how long it's going to take at this point, depending on the concerns. I want all batteries, removed out of the unit because I don't have a way to keep them plugged in there. So, and I don't want them to discharge and get into a freezing temp. So I always recommend to remove the batteries when bringing it in there, unless there's some reason the battery's bad already and you need me to test it. That'd be the only reason why. And if you have a diesel pusher, then that's something we just have to maintain because you cannot remove those batteries out of there. So, unless we're replacing them. But that's a question for the service department if you have that type of unit. But travel trailers, fifth wheels should all have their batteries removed when coming in, and when you're picking it up, bring it with you so that way we can get the unit back onto your truck. But batteries, please remove and keep them on a trickle tender. I got one here, it's just one cheap one that I use. We do sell them in the shop too as well, or soon. We're waiting to get a few more. We're out right now. But trickle tenders while they're stored over here is a great idea. All right. They have some chemical storage, deodorizer for your black tanks. This is for storage. This won't freeze. Just put a little bit in there with some antifreeze, and it's a good idea to keep the smell down.
Lower it down.
Lower, sorry.
There you go. That's good.
Sorry, I can't see, so a good thing. Also another product by Thetford. We use a lot of products by Thetford. Thetford's really good. Never really had a problem with them, so I've always supported their products. All right. And then last over here that we're going to talk about is our covers. First I'll start with tire covers. I always recommend tire covers. To be honest with you, I recommend them whenever you're not using it. Cold or hot, tires get weather cracked. And we don't want them to get weather cracked early. You're never going to replace it. I shouldn't say you never. Like again, if you're going to replace a tire because of tire tread, I'm going camping with you because you're driving all over the country. And 50,000 miles or something like that to tear down those treads on there. But most of the time what happens is there's weather cracking on those tires. I'm always a firm believer of 5 years on any tire and just replace it. Why take the risk? Those tires, when they blow out, they cause damage all over. I've seen them total units. I think I have one in there right now that might be total because of a blowout. They destroy units. So it's important to replace tires every 5 years. But to maintain them, we want to cover them. And I suggest doing this whenever you're not using the camper. So when you bring it home and you're waiting to go out on your next trip, throw a cover. Because the sun does the same thing as the cold weather. It starts to deteriorate the tires. So this is just a display, but they look similar to this. They just lace over. They're not hard to put on, but it's important to use tire covers. And last but not least is our RV covers. They're obviously a good way to protect your roof, protect the corners, protect it from water or leakage. They repel water, they're not, and they allow it to breathe so it doesn't actually trap. Please do not use a blue tarp or anything like that to cover your RV. That does not release air or anything like that. It traps the air, and then if moisture gets in there, it doesn't allow it to release, and it creates mold. It's a really bad thing to do. You need to use a cover that is designed for RVs to allow it to breathe. It must breathe. Now, I have this one here. This is a little display they have, and one side is the regular ADCO. This is from ADCO. It's a regular cover. The other side is, you can feel the difference. We have this display in the store, at least not right now because I stole it. It's here with me, but it's usually sitting in the store. You can feel the difference between the two of the material that they use, a little bit more hardy on this one. I believe this one has a 3-year warranty. This one has a 2-year warranty. But they are a good thing to use to help protect your RV. Now, it is important there is going to be a sale going on. I don't know the amount yet. I know that the parts manager is working on a sale that's coming up next, I think either next week or the following, for covers. So if you want to call the parts department, they can give you that type of information. And also, if you're looking to get a cover, a lot of times we have to order the covers. We do carry some in stock, but we order them also because they are as per fit. So, I'm going to tell you what the proper way is to measure a ADCO cover so you get the correct one the first time. So, on a travel trailer is probably the most important one. I'm going to measure. You'll see here that a travel trailer will have an A-frame out in the front that you hook onto the truck with. You do not want to measure it from the front of the A-frame. You want to measure it from the front nose. So whatever the furthest part of the nose is, you want to take a measuring tape from there and measure it all the way back to whatever the last thing is. So if you have a spare tire, measure it to the spare tire. If you have a ladder, measure it to the ladder. Okay, but do not just measure from the A-frame and all the way back, because you're just going to have a floating cover on your thing, and as soon as the wind comes, it's gone. It's just going to rip apart. So it's important to do a correct measurement. So from the front nose, take that measuring tape. You okay?
Yep.
Sorry. From the front nose all the way back to the last thing on your unit. So if it's a ladder, to the ladder. If it's a spare tire, go to the spare tire. Also, if you have a fifth wheel, you're going to go to the nose of the A-frame, so the furthest thing up on the nose. This one you may want to actually, if your kingpin is sticking out a little bit farther, you might want to measure to that. Usually most of them are right near it, but measure to that and then go all the way back to the last thing. Same thing with the Class C, go to the front of the nose. Those are a little bit easier. It's really only the travel trailer that's a little difficult, so you're really going to measure those in length. But the travel trailer, you do not want to measure the A-frame. But these covers, they zip up in areas so you can get in there if you need to. I've gone places to where people had covers on there and need to get inside, and I can zip it up and get inside the door for something and then get out. They make them for all different styles. They make them for toy haulers that can open the back. They'll pretty much make it for any type of unit. You just have to be specific on your measurements. And the other thing I want to tell you on this is do not force it. Everything should go on with ease. If I'm trying to yank this over a corner, I have a high risk of tearing it. Everything should go on with ease. These things are really good, but if you yank and pull, it could tear. So just FYI.
Ange asked, what brand of product do you recommend? So sorry, she didn't catch it.
Oh, and what product? This is an ADCO product. I've only done ADCO products for the last like 12 years, or ever since I've been in RV. It's always been ADCO. And it is a great product. They have a warranty, and they'll warranty it if the stitching comes done or anything like that. But if you tear it because of yanking or pulling it around, the big one that tears them is the little rain drip covers that extend, the drip moldings, I guess you could call it, that extend out. Gutter rails, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm so hard to say that word, but the gutter rails that stick out, people will pull them down. They even come with a little sock to go over that to help protect it. But don't yank it around there. Try to be easy around those areas, because that's what usually cuts it. I know this was a shorter seminar. If you guys have questions, I'd like to open up the floor for questions, and I can answer whatever you need to know. I'll just give it a minute just to see. I think my wife is typing something right now. By the way, the person that's working the computer today is my wife, Courtney Clyde. So she's waving, but you can't see her, so I don't know why she's waving.
Les did say that your daughter, Mackenzie, really liked the Terra trailer.
Oh.
And they're getting it ready for you.
I see the sales managers in here trying to sell me a camper now.
So Evala said, how do you prevent flat tire spots?
Oh, thank you. That's a good question. Somebody asked how to prevent flat tire spots. I mean, I don't get too many flat. You want to make sure that you're aired up fully. That's a good thing to tell you. I'm sorry I didn't bring that. I meant to grab those. You're going to want to grab like either a piece of wood, or we sell these blocks that you can put on there. If you're not storing on cement, you want to put it on some sort of wood frame instead of in the dirt, because it'll sink. The water will build up and freeze over the top of it. So it's important to put it on something that's not going to be into water. So I like to say wood is real easy, but you can buy some blocks. Flat spotting, I don't like. If you just got to maintain the tire pressures to make sure they stay up. Nitrogen, if you wanted to go get nitrogen, I do not have it in the shop, but nitrogen doesn't really dissipate nearly as fast as air. I know some people are saying nitrogen doesn't dissipate at all, but I believe that everything dissipates, but it just takes a lot longer. So that way it's not going down, but you're going to want to maintain your tire pressures throughout it, because it will drain off. Or dissipate, should I say, not drain off. Drain off, you got a leak. But thank you, that was a great question, because I meant to talk about putting those wheels up off of something. You don't want them sitting in the dirt.
Emily, or Mr. and Miss Polson said, what did you say to buy for the batteries to stay charged? Triple tenders?
No, a trickle tender.
Trickle?
That's like saying a word twister or something. They asked what did I say for keeping that battery maintained? A trickle tender. It's just a battery tender. You can pretty much buy them anywhere, but we do sell them in the store. They look just like this. You just plug them in and you attach it to the battery, and they charge the battery to make sure it's charged. This one does 6 volt or 12 volt. Obviously, I have a 12 volt battery and everything I have, but there are RVs out there that have 6 volt batteries, and you can do them individually with 6 volt batteries. You just need to make sure they maintain their charge.
Miss Weimer said, is there anything that needs to be done to a Schwintek specifically?
Ms. Weimer said, anything to be done to a Schwintek slide out. The only thing that you need to do to that Schwintek slide out is the rubber seals.
Lower it down a little bit. There you go. Up.
Up, down, left, right. Where are we going? Okay.
We're going right there.
All right. That's the only thing that we need to do is the slide out seals on the Schwintek for maintaining it. Do not, I repeat, do not put any silicone or dry silicone spray or WD-40 or anything on those gear rails on the side. It will attract dirt and create issues for you in the long run, 100%.
Miss Thomas said, what about disconnecting solar panels, question mark?
Disconnecting solar panels, if you're disconnecting the battery from the unit, it's going to disconnect those solar panels irregardless. I would say to tape them up with electrical tape on the ends, because you know, you don't want them to touch or anything like that. I'm sure there's safety features in the actual panel that will cause anything from reverse feeding back, but still, I tape everything up when I take it off. It's just a knack that I do. Like I said, you ask 10 people, you may get 10 different answers, but when I pull the batteries off, oh, and that actually reminds me of something else. Also, take a picture of your batteries when you're removing them, because the colors of the wires don't always mean what you think they mean. Okay, I've seen black goes to hot, white goes to ground, I've seen red goes to hot, I've seen red goes to ground, and you know, I've seen it all. They just grab wires and hook them up. So please take a picture of your battery before removing it so you remember next year. Don't ever look at that battery and say, okay, I get it, I'll remember next year. I'm telling you right now, you won't. You won't. I get the call all the time saying, I thought I would remember, I don't. And then they ask me, and I will never answer you what color goes to where. If somebody says, what color goes on my battery for the positive, I will refuse to answer you. I will say you need to follow it to any type of fuse. If it goes to a fuse, it's the hot line. The other line, if it goes to a ground, it's the negative, but I'll never tell you a color because I don't trust that the color is correct.
Sean, Mr. Bassler said, have heard it's good to run the generator once a month for an hour as another way to maintain it. Any thoughts?
I didn't catch the name, but John, did you say?
Sean, Mr.
Okay.
Bassler.
Ms. Bachelor said that, is it a good idea to run the generator once a month to keep it maintained? Absolutely, if you have that ability. Absolutely, you can do that if you have that ability. I'd say run it for an hour if you can. I think that's the best way, but most people have it in storage or don't have that ability. But any engine that, and same thing with your RV engine, you want to run that for a little bit. Anything sitting, if you can fire it off and let it run, probably should have addressed that. That is a good idea. Great question.
Just a comment, Miss Grammatikov Ivala said, is that a real battery? You were holding it seemed so light. And I said, no, it was not, but that is great for Pat's ego.
I think maybe I say it is, you know.
No, it is not.
But I will tell you this, every new person that ever comes into the shop for a technician, we always just throw them the battery to see what their reaction is. And it's quite funny to see what they do. Most of them run. But no, it's fake. It's completely fake. However, the lithium batteries are fairly light, just so you know, but that's for another seminar to talk about on lithium.
Mr. Copley, Jim Copley, said if someone sprayed the wrong stuff like dry slide on the slide out, gears and the rubber, what should you do? Clean it off with something?
Just clean it off. I mean, if you've already sprayed it, there's not much you can do about it. Somebody asked if they sprayed the wrong stuff. I guess I would like to know what you sprayed and what you were doing. I mean, I'm not a fan of WD-40. And they were asking if they sprayed like something on the seal wrong or something on the gears wrong. I guess that would be more of a question of what you did to kind of deter, like, is this worth really getting a toothbrush in there and cleaning out, or is it just over? The only thing that I really say needs to be cleaned is the Schwintex. If you spray something on that gear rail, you want to try to get in there and clean it. Probably just water would be the only thing I could say on the Schwintex. It is a bugger to get off water and a toothbrush, but I wouldn't spray anything different. It would take you a while.
So 2 more questions. Scott Barnes said, I missed the first few minutes of the seminar. Were you talking about blowing out lines?
The first few minutes of the seminar, Scott asked that I missed. We were talking about blowing out lines. We did not talk about anything of winterization in this seminar. That was on the last seminar. However, in a few days, that winterized video that I've been lacking on getting out there, the how-to, is going to be posted. It's already filmed. I'm just editing it, and it does show you a step-by-step process of how you're blowing out lines. But I will tell you this, if you plan to blow out lines, make sure you still winterize it. I am not a believer in blowing out lines to winterize. I know it can be done, and I know it can be done successfully, but there are a lot of steps that people miss when they blow out lines that can cause problems. So I still believe in blowing out the lines and then winterizing. But it'll see it in the video coming up. I'm sure I'll have it out in a couple days. Bear with me. I'm sorry I've been a little bit behind. It's been a busy schedule. So.
And the winterization is posted on your Facebook page.
Yeah, and the winterize is posted on the Facebook page. The prior seminar is posted on this Facebook page that you can watch and skip through to the areas of what you're looking for if you like. It's kind of lengthy.
Miss G said, any special storage chips for trailers with an underclosed belly? And is it better to leave the slide outs open or closed during storage? Same person question.
Okay, same question. Somebody asked, what was it again?
The first one is special storage chips for trailers with an enclosed underbelly.
Special storage chip for trailers that have an underclosed underbelly. No special tips there. I mean, the only thing you need to make sure is that you're keeping like something around the tires so that mouse can't climb up there and on the cord. But underbelly trailers are great. I mean, they're enclosed, but don't leave any fluids in there. You know, make sure your black tank and your gray tanks are drained. But yeah, nothing to do there. What was the second question I had?
Is it better to leave the slide outs open or closed during storage?
That's a great question. Is it better to leave the slide outs open or closed in storage? Always closed. I always leave them closed. If I ever have a slide out or I plan to leave my slide out open for long periods of time, I always want to, they sell things that you can purchase up underneath to support the slide. Realistically, you don't want snow collecting over those slide rooms. It's a common thing that what we have to do, because we leave some of our slide rooms open during the winter over at the shop so people can look at them. We have to pull them up and spray hot water to get the snow off just to close those slide rooms because they freeze. So I always recommend, if you can and you're storing it and it's not for show, for sale and not done correctly, you need to keep them closed at all times. But if you do keep them open for long periods of time, at least have those supports underneath there. And I'm talking for longer than a month.
Ange said, any special storage tips for a trailer that has pop-out beds?
Any special storage trip for a trailer that has pop-out beds? Yeah, I do believe, and you're talking about hybrid beds that fold out. Same thing with tent trailers. No different on the storage tip that I would suggest for you is when you clean it, make sure it is completely cleaned and dry. Don't wash those and close them up with any type of moisture in there. It will create mold, 100%. The other thing is you may want to check your seals. It's important around the doors. Maybe do a little water test and then open it back up just to make sure there's no water leaking in. I get a lot of people that have opened their hybrid trailers at the end of spring, and all of a sudden there's water in there that's created into this mold and has created a problem. So you want to make sure that those seals are good. And the easiest way is close the slide room, take a hose, spray, or close the door, spray the outside with a hose, like just drench it, open it back up, and then check around for any type of leaks. If you have no leaks, you should be pretty good. Make sure that you tuck the corners of the material in. Don't let anything overlap one of the seals, because if it overlaps and you close it just barely and you don't see it, that is now going to introduce water into the system.
That was the last question that I see right now.
Okay.
I don't think I missed any, but you might want to ask. Do you want to ask? I don't, if there's any other questions.
Is there any more questions?
I think I hit all of them.
I think we got them all, but if we missed anybody, just let us know.
She said thank you so much.
Okay. I hope that was helpful to you folks. If there's a question that you forgot to ask or you're curious about and you wanted more information, you can call our shop 262-321-2500. Ask for service. We have a guy there or service advisor there until 1 today, and then obviously they'll be back in the office Monday through Friday at normal 9 to 5 hours. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining. Hope this was helpful, and hope you folks have a good weekend.